My first question is, if you had to name one comedian who really influenced the way that you looked at comedy, who would it be? Just one.
Like stand-up or any actor who was
No,
funny?
I mean, you could do Lucille Ball, you could do
Okay.
whoever you wanted.
I have like a cluster.
Yeah.
What's your cluster?
I would say my cluster would be
You start with your cluster, and then
Steve Martin, Gary Shandling, Ruth Gordon, Albert Brooks.
good cluster.
Okay, nice.
That was
nice
nice. That was a good cluster.
That's hard to
well
beat
done.
that. That's
well
hard to beat
done.
that.
Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Jerry Lewis, just a little, like a little smattering of Jerry. And who else? No, just those three. That's
Were
my
these
cluster.
people you looked up to as when you were younger? Or these
Oh
people
yeah,
that,
I mean, I think the Eddie Murphy Delirious. I still quote that so much in my head that it's an effort to stop quoting it with my mouth because everybody's heard it so much. You know, it's kind of it was so influential to my whole sense of humor.
I think we're of that age. Like Delirious was like our world at one point, right?
Sure. Yeah. And he was on SNL when I was like, he was down in the 80s, so it was like that, when you're a young teenager, like whoever's on SNL at the time kind of sticks in your brain, and he was the star of SNL at that time, so he was like the man.
So does it feel good that there's a whole bunch of teenagers now?
They think I'm Eddie Murphy?
Yes, think you're Eddie Murphy? I know. It's got to be a little weird.
This may sound weird, but just Dustin Hoffman in Tootsie. I know Dustin Hoffman's not necessarily a comedian, but I still watch that movie repeatedly. I love how seriously they take everything. It's very dramatic comedy to me, and I think it's very funny because of it. He's just so honest as that woman, and I fell so in love with her. I still love Dorothy. See, I watch that movie a lot. But I would say that offhand is the first thing I think of.
Bill Murray in that movie as well?
Bill Murray's wonderful in that movie.
Bill Murray's amazing.
You're right.
Absolutely.
Now my cluster touches your cluster.
It's like a Venn diagram.
Yeah.
What about you, Toni?
I don't have any specific comedian type people that I feel I've been directly influenced by. I think there are a lot of actors that I really admire, but I don't even have a cluster, I don't think.
Yeah.
Does stage work, you've done stage work, does that help your comedic timing? Does that help?
I think good writing helps. I haven't done theatre for a long time actually, but that's what I grew up with, and I think it's either innate or it's not. I find I just play something honestly and it'll fall into wherever it was intended to be.
Yeah.
What makes a funny person funny? If you had to explain it to someone?
Hair.
Funky hat.
Funny hats.
Nose.
Crazy jeans. Those slippers, those Homer Simpson
elbow
slippers.
pads.
Yeah.
Like any of the props from the photo shoot we just did.
Yes. No, there is no. I think it's sort of a they have to have the personality that's like a crock pot of a certain amount of pain with a certain amount of a release with an ironic release, if that makes any sense.
Like that way.
I liken it to a
to
human
it.
crock pot that's leaky. Thank you.
Leaky crock
A leaky human crock pot.
Yeah, that's good.
That's impossible. I mean, because everybody that's funny, somebody thinks they're not funny,
Right.
Somebody hates me. I don't know who, but somebody does.
I actually
Somebody
was-
out there hates me.
I was actually in a line once waiting to see a movie, and this is back when I was still making movies, and somebody said, "Oh, are you going to see that Jon Cryer movie?" And the person opposite them said, "No, I hate that guy."
No.
And I just was like, "Oh," and then I was like, "Wow, you know what? But you put yourself out there. There's going to be people that enjoy you, and there's going to be people that don't." And you get used to it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Were you the person that said that?
I know, that's the sad part. That was me. I hate myself. Again, the human crockpot returns.
But don't you, when that happens, have that feeling like you don't want them to see you because you know they'll feel bad? Like,
Yes, exactly.
But still,
They probably
Save them
they
the
would probably feel
embarrassment.
bad.
Yes.
I'll just die
Yeah.
here alone.
It's actually sometimes nice because you do, like you said, you do know so many people don't like you that when you actually hear it, it's almost a relief.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I know it's around, but when you actually hear it, I don't know.
Not aversion to being disliked anymore. It's wonderful.
Yeah, maybe that's something to do with comedy is not worrying so much about being liked or putting that aside a little bit or worrying less about it. Maybe. I don't know.
I think that's the struggle, though.
That's a struggle, yeah, for sure.
And when you are some of you are in front of a live audience, and when you are in front of a live audience, there seems to be a live feedback to what people think, right?
Yeah.
And you feed off of that, or do you?
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I should expand upon that.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, if you're shooting in front of a live audience, it's like doing theater again, and you do. I mean, we rewrite on the spot, or the same team of people, or a lot of them. That's not working. So why would we go home if it's not working, or we can try to fix it. So that definitely affects, And you do try to do the whole thing. I don't care if they laugh. I don't care if they. Or I tell myself that. It's like it doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is to play the scene. It's not. It doesn't matter if they laugh. If it's funny. If it's on the. They will. Don't worry. Just play it honestly. But yes, when there's. I don't know how many people come. A few hundred, maybe.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's not comfortable when you're like, well, it was supposed to be funny, and nobody laughed. Or
Do
they
you actually
went,
stop?
ooh.
Do you actually stop filming and you fix the joke?
I mean, depending. I don't. They come to me, and say, we're writing something. No one's asking me, can you fix that for us?
So you hear a gigantic record scratch. You hear, and then everybody goes back and stops. But no, they just usually, there's like an odd silence in the writers' area, and then the director usually takes a little longer to yell cut because they're all discussing stuff back there, and then they'll say cut, and then it's like okay, everybody just sits there while we know we're going to get new lines, and that's but it's but it is great because you're not just hanging, you're not left with your ass hanging out, they're going to fix it, so.
I don't work on a show where there has to be the laugh, so
Right.
I would find that really, I don't know, weird.
It's not so
fun.
bad.
Especially in
It's
front of
kinda
all those
fun.
people.
Yeah. Well, it's fun though because that's what you're going for.
Yeah, right.
So
the energy of that audience
Yeah.
must be really, to be able to perform in front of an audience, I think is the best if you feel like you can draw energy from that. It's certainly, you could. When you're in front of an audience, whether, like you were saying, whether or not something's working, really fast. It's different when you're doing something dramatic. You just sometimes there's not the same kind of sometimes sense that it's not working because it's not like you can look in the audience and be like, nobody's crying. You know what I mean? But with comedy, if you're in front of an audience, if they're not laughing, something's not working. And that's pretty instant. Mm-hmm. But that's obvious what I just said.
No, it's not. That was a good observation.